Morning prayer, reflection, and trusting what you cannot yet see. God, strengthen my faith today. Even when I don't see the full picture, help me trust that you are working. Amen. Faith begins where certainty ends. If everything were visible, explainable, and predictable, faith would not be required. Faith exists precisely because life is incomplete, unfolding, and often unclear. This morning, faith is not a demand placed on you, it is an invitation offered to you. You are not being asked to understand everything. You are not being asked to see the whole picture. You are being asked to trust the one who does. Faith does not remove questions, it gives you something to hold on to while questions remain. God, strengthen my faith today. Faith is not static. It grows, weakens, stretches, and renews. There are days when faith feels firm and confident, and days when it feels fragile and uncertain. Asking God to strengthen your faith is an act of humility. It acknowledges that faith is not something you manufacture. It is something God nurtures. You do not strengthen faith by forcing belief. You strengthen faith by staying open, honest, and willing. Faith is not pretending everything is fine when it isn't. Faith is not denying pain, doubt, or disappointment. Faith is saying, I don't understand this, but I trust God's heart. I don't see the way forward, but I believe He does. I feel uncertain, but I choose hope. Faith does not ignore reality. It looks at reality through the lens of trust. Even when I don't see the full picture, so much anxiety comes from wanting the full picture. We want to know how things will turn out, when clarity will arrive, why delays happen, whether our choices are right. But life rarely gives us the full picture. Faith learns to live with partial understanding. Just as you trust the road even when it curves out of sight, faith trusts God even when the future disappears around the bend. Faith is rarely about leaps. It is about steps. Small steps, quiet steps, sometimes hesitant steps. Faith today may look like praying even when distracted, continuing even when tired, trusting even when unsure, showing up even when discouraged. God does not ask you to run ahead. He walks with you at your pace. Help me trust that you are working. God's work is often hidden before it is revealed. Seeds grow underground before breaking through the soil. Healing happens beneath the surface before it becomes visible. Transformation begins quietly before it becomes obvious. Just because you cannot see God's work does not mean it is not happening. God works in waiting, in silence, in delays, in unanswered prayers. Faith trusts the unseen process. Waiting tests faith. Waiting can feel uncomfortable, unproductive, and uncertain, but waiting is not wasted time. In waiting, faith deepens. In waiting, character forms. In waiting, dependence grows. God does not rush what needs time. Faith learns to rest while waiting. There are moments when prayers feel unheard. You pray sincerely, you hope deeply, and yet, nothing seems to change. Faith does not conclude that God is absent. It trusts that God's answer may look different than expected. Sometimes God answers with a yes, a not yet, a something better, a strengthening instead of a solution. Faith trusts God's wisdom even when the answer is unclear. Doubt does not cancel faith. Doubt asks questions. Faith continues to seek. You can doubt and still believe. You can question and still trust. Faith is not the absence of doubt. It is the decision to keep trusting despite it. God is not threatened by your questions. He meets you in them. Some of the strongest faith grows through struggle. Pain stretches faith. Disappointment refines it. Loss reshapes it. Faith that has been tested becomes resilient. It no longer depends on circumstances. It anchors itself in God's character. Faith is remembering what God has already done. When the present feels uncertain, faith looks back. At moments of provision, at past protection, at previous healing, at unexpected grace. Memory strengthens faith. If God has carried you before, He can carry you again. Faith is not only for crises. Faith belongs in ordinary days, in routines, in small decisions, in quiet obedience, in daily faithfulness. Faith grows in consistency, not just intensity. Faith requires surrender, control. Surrender of timelines. Surrender of expectations. Surrender is not defeat. It is trust in action. Faith says, God, I place this in your hands. Faith does not always change circumstances. Sometimes it changes perspective. What once looked like failure may become preparation. What once felt like delay may become protection. What once seemed like loss may open new paths. Faith allows you to see beyond the moment. Faith brings peace, not because everything is resolved, but because you trust who holds the resolution. Peace grows when faith rests in God's faithfulness rather than outcomes. Faith is chosen daily. Some days it comes easily, some days it must be practiced intentionally. Returning to faith again and again is not weakness, it is devotion. Faith does not require strength. Sometimes faith is whispering, "Help me," quietly. Sometimes faith is resting instead of striving. God strengthens faith when you admit you need help. Faith does not force itself. It grows gently. It matures slowly. It deepens quietly. God is patient with your faith. You can be patient with it too. Faith ultimately rests not in circumstances, but in God's character. God is faithful. God is present. God is trustworthy. Even when answers delay, His nature does not change. Faith fuels hope. Hope looks forward. Faith holds steady. Together they carry you through uncertainty. Faith is not a formula. It is a relationship. It grows through conversation, honesty, and time spent with God. You do not need perfect faith, just sincere faith. Your story is still unfolding. Faith trusts that God is not finished yet. What feels incomplete today may make sense later. Clarity. It asks for trust. You do not need to see the full picture to take the next step. God is working, even when you cannot see it. God, thank you for walking with me, even when the way is unclear. Strengthen my faith when it feels fragile. Steady my heart when doubt rises. Help me trust your work, even when it is unseen. Teach me to walk by faith, not by sight. To rest in trust, not control. To believe even when I do not fully understand. I place my questions, fears, and hopes in your hands today.